Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first international event online for the European Researchers' Night. As you might know, European Researchers' Night is taking place simultaneously in over 400 cities across Europe and beyond. We are very happy to announce that our webinar has reached its full capacity. So for those of you out there who cannot enter the webinar, please follow this event on YouTube and Facebook of Campus Iberus or UBNA, Public University of Navarra. So it seems failure is a very interesting subject, but it is actually not just about listening, but speaking and sharing. So we have here today very brave speakers that are PhDs that are willing to share with you their personal failure stories, and they will open the debate. I will kindly ask you to introduce yourself. Please, Natalia, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I am Natalia Lopez, and I am a PhD candidate and a research fellow at Universidad de Zaragoza. My PhD program is linguistics, and I am right now in my last year, so that means that next September or so, I will be giving my thesis dissertation. I am a member of SILEX, which is a research group focused on the scientific study of language, and my thesis is about words with more than one meaning. So thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, Natalia. Go, Miguel.
Good evening, my name is Miguel Vicente, and I studied in the University of the Basque Country, but now I'm a PhD student in the Public University of Navarre.
Good.
I'm doing my thesis in Wit Science in the Science Department of the aforementioned university.
Thank you. Katrina, it's your turn.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Katrina Kachenko. Originally, I'm Ukrainian, but I did my master in Italy. I'm concluding my first year of PhD at the University of La Rioja. I'm working in the field of chemistry, and my project is about lipid biomarkers in Parkinson's disease.
Very good. And Katerina, you are from the Iberus Talent Program, right?
Yes.
And also Jessica, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I am Jessica Guedes. I am Iberus Talent PhD student at the University of La Rioja, and I am at the Department of Agriculture. And my PhD thesis is about the detection of antibiotic residue in meat commercialized here in La Rioja, and how these antibiotics can affect the growth of bacteria in this kind of food.
Very interesting, thank you. And Eva? Sorry, Eva, please unmute yourself.
The first failure for me. Good afternoon. I'm Eva Benito Ruiz from University of Zaragoza. I do my PhD at the Department of Health and Sports Science. My PhD thesis is about evaluation of inhalation device in the pediatric pulmonology consultation in a tertiary hospital in Aragon. When I decided to start doing my PhD, I have doubts about which topic to choose for my research, but finally I select this one because it's an approach that the nursing professional is trained to carry out. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, everyone. And also I would like to thank my colleagues, Carmen and Salome from Campus Iberus, who will take care of the chats and your questions. I hope there are a lot. And also Isabel, which is in the technical support behind the scenes. Okay, so to participate in the debate, you can use the chats to comment or post any question. You can please raise your hand so we can give you voice as well, and you can very cheerfully share with us your story. But until then, please mute your microphones. All right, and without no hesitation, I would like to give the floor to our wonderful chairman, Professor Joaquín Sevilla, who is head of the culture and outreach area of the Public University of Navarra, and will chair our lively debate today.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in such an interesting and hopefully funny debate on failure on science. That is something that is normally not so, we don't talk about that so much. Used to be said that history is written by winners, and the moments of failure are not in the textbooks of history of science. When we are told about Galileo or Newton or Darwin or whoever in the history of science, we are only told about the great successes and how great achievements they got. But for sure that all of them were caught in a huge number of mistakes, errors, problems, and all kinds of wrong things. So when we start in research as PhD students or whatever, the first times you meet failure, well, I was not expecting that. It was supposed to work all the time perfectly well. And this is not the case. Also, when you're going to public outreach, people expect from science that everything is okay. This is one of the stories that we have heard in this COVID story that we've been living for the last months, that people expected from the voice of science to be one and unanimous, and no failures, and all studies were perfect at all moments. And we are seeing that this is not the case, and the vaccine that was supposed to have, I don't know what number of, is not so good, and everything. So today we're going to talk a little bit about this dark side of research, that is, things are not so good all the time.
Indeed, thank you, Joaquin. And actually, just as a matter of fact, I think they are very brave, the speakers of today, because we had this call for audios, and there weren't that many of participants being brave enough to send their failure stories to share openly. So I think it is indeed a dark side that we all tend to hide, and it shouldn't be that way.
So this is a kind of helping group.
Yeah.
Hello,
yeah.
I'm a scientist and I have some mistakes.
I hope that it will be motivating others, because there are always a lot of ups and downs during a PhD life, and research has tones of uncertainty around you. So when you experiment. And all right, so we have really nice videos we made from your stories, and we would like to watch them and stream them for you. All right, so go to video.
Hello everyone, my name is Natalia Lopez and I am a PhD candidate at Universidad de Zaragoza. My research takes place in the field of linguistics, and in particular in the field of psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics studies the psychological and cognitive processes that underlie language. So we try to answer questions such as how speakers understand language, how children acquire language, or where in our brain we store words and meanings. In order to answer these questions, we conduct experimental tasks where speakers do something language related. So for instance, they read a sentence or they try to recognize words from their mother tongue. And then we analyze these responses to see what generalizations we can obtain about language. I designed my first linguistic experiment a long time ago. I was really excited, mainly because I thought that experimenting was a thing that was limited to other fields of science. Well, my supervisor and I, conducted a task. Then we obtained the data, and of course we had to analyze everything. That's when I learned about statistics and about the fact that results must be statistically significant. We didn't obtain any significant results, so of course I was really sad. However, my supervisor explained to me that sometimes not having the results you expected is also a result, because it also means something. In fact, those first results allowed us to formulate a new hypothesis, and now we actually have valid results. So always keep trying.
Good night, I'm Miguel Vicente, and I'm a PhD student in weed science in the Department of Science of the Public University of Navarre. Herbicides are compounds that are used in agriculture for killing unwanted plants or weeds. Each herbicide has its target, a molecule of the plant that blocks or inactivates to kill the plant. Acetolactate synthase, or ALS, is a key molecule for amino acid synthesis in plants and is the target of a big group of herbicides. To test the efficacy of these herbicides, the activity of this molecule, ALS, must be measured in weeds. In vivo method is apparently simple and consists of blocking the following enzyme in the brain chain amino acid synthesis pathway and measuring acetolactate accumulation. This assay is widely tested, and indeed we have carried it out successfully in crop plants such as pea. However, we don't know why it fails in weeds. We have tried using different concentration of the inhibitor, incubating left discs, or directly applicating the inhibitor, but none of these ways worked. So for the moment, the only way we have to measure ALS activity in weeds is the costly and laborious ALS in vitro method. We still don't know the reason why weeds don't respond to the treatment like crops, but the fact is that the widely used experiment isn't valid in this case. What we can learn of this is that the usefulness of methods varies in function of different factors, like plant species in this case, so always proving a new method before using it massively is really important.
My name is Katrina Kachenko. I'm from the University of La Rioja. My story is about my first traineeship experience in the Hospital Research Center. After some days being in the pharmacology lab, my supervisor asked me to help them with analysis of plasma samples. They explained me the working protocol, and I started to work. The quantity of plasma was limited for every patient. Each day we were dosing 2 blocks of samples. Each block consisted in 20 vials of patient plasma and 3 controls. Due to my little experience, I forgot to nominate the tubes, convinced that I would not confuse them. And at one point of procedure, I put a double of metabolite in one tube and nothing in another one. After the ultra-high performance liquid chromatography was run, my supervisor understood what was done, because the calibration curve was really strange, making other samples be out of the calibration rate. I was totally ashamed about that. But fortunately, no one got mad, because they still had some plasma samples for further analysis. My colleagues supplied me with indelible pens, and we became friends. Thanks to this experience, I learned quickly how to deal with the software for the instrument, and what's more, I started to be more careful and concentrate. From that moment, all of my following analyses were impeccable.
Very nice videos. So Please unmute yourselves, the microphones, because the debate is going to take the start. All right, so Joaquin, would you like to say something about these very nice stories?
No, very nice stories, as you said before, very brave of telling that you have to learn the procedures and labeling tubes and the exact dose of reagents and the statistical significance, the amount of samples you need to be convinced of an experiment. These are things you have to learn, and in some cases you learn them the hard way, but it's the only way in many cases. How was your experience with this? You've been brave as to telling us how was at the moment of these failures to occur. It's a question for all of you. I don't have any particular order. Maybe.
Do you want to start, Katerina? That it's very like tangential error, like on not marking the tubes. Everyone has done that one. So
actually, I was super ashamed because, you know, when you start to work in a new lab and you don't speak the language of that country, because at that moment I didn't speak French, and the technician and other students, some of other students actually, they didn't speak English. So all I had is my working skills to show, and I failed on that. So it was super embarrassing initially, but everything went super good, actually, because they still had some plasma samples for the future testing, and nothing. We got super friends with other PhD students in this super international lab, because we have people from Cambodia, people from Vietnam, from Poland, from Ukraine. So everything was good.
Do you think that there could have been any way of preventing these kind of mistakes? Maybe some training or something?
Actually, yes. First of all, you should always label the tubes. It was a super automatic procedure, because you need to use your pipe and do like something like that with a lot of metabolites in front of you. But I was thinking that my mistake could be very heavy. As I told, there was not enough plasma samples for dosing, and some plasma was from previous years, so it could be impossible to provide other tubes. So I guess when you start to work, you should concentrate yourself, just leave all others.
Yes. In this case, samples were so valuable that you thought a lot of responsibility was behind your shoulders, right? Because patients in clinical studies take so much effort from all of us, all of workers, but also volunteers or subjects that are participating in the study. So was it at that moment the comfort of your colleagues or supervisors that you had like a good communication and relationship with them to be honest and just say, or was it so evident that you could not hide?
When I did a mistake, I'm the first one to admit that. But at that moment, I didn't know nothing about the calibration rate, how does the machine work and the instrument work. So I was, it would be obvious that it was me. But actually, my equip was super nice. So I think that in the health working environment, it is super important to have to maintain every time simplicity and humility to deal with your colleagues, to talk about the failures, about mistakes, what could be improved, what was done. So yeah.
Especially when you... Sorry, Natalia, go ahead.
It's okay.
Yes, please. Go ahead, Natalia.
Related to what Katerina is saying, and also what Joaquin was commenting earlier, I think it's very important to admit that you don't know how to do something. I mean, not everyone can be perfect at everything. So from my experience, my background in linguistics is theoretical, let's say. So when I started to design experiments for my TFG, my last the trabajo de fin de grado, right? Yeah, that's it.
Thesis.
When I started to design the experiments, I had to tell to my supervisor, I don't know what I am doing. I don't know what statistics is. I need help. So I think it's important to be brave and to ask for help and to rely on other people and colleagues and on our supervisors.
Yeah, sure. When you start in science, it's usual that you think that after the studies you know everything, but actually you know nothing.
Yeah.
So it's important to ask. And about the training, Joaquin, you said the training for not making mistakes. Actually, the best training for not making mistakes is making a mistake, but a very, very silly and terrible mistake, because then you won't repeat it again.
Yeah, for
I'm sure that Katerina is not going to make that mistake again.
No, for sure, no.
In all her life.
I agree completely with you. And that's the reason why starting in research goes through a PhD in not just courses. But on the other hand, the doctorate schools, they are planning courses because, as you know, you have to do some courses. So they try to plan the best ones to help PhD candidates to work the best. So my question was, if you think from your experience that some of these courses could be better oriented just to avoid some kind of these mistakes, but for sure that you have to fail sometimes to be sure and to learn, to really learn how to do things. For example, the Natalia example on statistics.
Yeah.
There are always courses of statistics in the doctorate schools.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really good that there are those courses, but I have some problems with them because most of the times it's a course on how to use R commander, for instance. So it's the method, the program, how to use it. So my problem was, I don't know how to use the program, but I also don't know what I have to do. What are the statistic methods that I have to use because my background is theoretical. So I think these doctoral schools should also listen to us because not everyone has the same background.
Indeed. I mean, if you are working with languages, then why should you know about maths or statistics? But in your case, what do you think? I mean, in your video about how bad results are also results and finding a new hypothesis, but what do you think about publishing also bad results? Did you publish those results, or do you think they merit also to be published, bad results today?
That's a really interesting question because the fact is that most journals, at least from my experience, are not really interested in publishing negative results. And when I say negative, I mean results that aren't minus 0.005, right? You know, so they are only interested in positive results. So that is a problem because, for instance, we as young researchers, we read those papers and we think that everyone is doing great, everyone is obtaining awesome results, and then you are not able to do that. So of course you think, it's my fault. I am not good enough to be doing this thing, or I am doing something wrong. But the thing is that probably those great researchers that you are reading have also obtained negative or not significant results, and they have not published them. So it's a secret.
Right? If good results were so predictable, then there would be no experiment needed, right? So
yeah, sure. Like yours is a very good point, Natalia. I also would like to add that, well, I like very much your sentence that negative results are also results. Well, I know this isn't about linguistics, but I will translate it to my field, to natural science. The objective of natural science is to understand how the nature and the processes work. And in those processes, in that functioning, the negative results are also real. If this plant is significantly the same as this one in one process, it's also a fact, it's also a result. And I don't know why journals don't accept that, but I think that those results are also important, and they should be given more importance than they have. Why must them keep on being secret? I mean, they are also a fact. If you have done it, the experiment well, the result is correct. So,
completely true.
Negative results aren't only results; they are indeed not negative.
And as you probably all know, that is leading to what is called the p-hacking, which is not manipulating your data, but you are so obsessed with obtaining a significant result that you try to do some things, right, so that it fits your hypothesis, and that is not science. So
yeah, and that leads to science corruption, actually.
Biased, yes.
Yeah.
I think there are different things. One thing is to do bad science that have not significant results, or p-hacking, or some other bad practices that there are a lot. And other things are, as Miguel said, well-obtained results, but negative ones. You wanted the drug to solve a disease, and this drug doesn't solve the disease. This is a real statement. If you did good experiments, you know something that was unknown before, that this drug does not cure this disease, and this should be published. But journals normally want to know what does cure the disease. All the things that do not are not so interesting, but indeed are results. I think that's a fair point to do.
And they could even save lives, right, Joaquin, if there are clinical studies not published and the same
and save money
mistakes.
Because other people will do the same test.
Exactly.
If it's a nice hypothesis that this chemical product could be related to that disease, a lot of people would do the same test to find out that it doesn't work, but they won't publish it, and some people will do it again next year and again and again. So it's a problem. I wanted to ask Miguel if, with his problems, if the thesis supervisors is a help when you are in these dead-end roads, when the system, the experimental procedure you wanted to use doesn't work, then the supervisor help you with some hints, or?
Yes, my supervisor is like an angel, actually. I love her. Yes,
she's watching, right?
She's
probably watching.
Very good. I don't think she's watching. I don't know, but yeah, she's very good, and she usually has the solution to all these problems. I mean, she said, "Did you try measuring this more quickly, or changing this compound for this other?" And it usually works. But in this case, we have tried this experiment on many ways, with so many differences, that in the end it didn't appear to be the same experiment, but it didn't work. Well, it's another thing, but yes, my supervisor.
It must be frustrating. How do you cope? I mean, I think something very valuable lesson in your PhD is also to cope with frustration like this, repeating and repeating and not finding and actually not knowing the why. And it's like time to you move directly on to a next method, or you keep in a loop.
Yeah, sure. You have to cope with the frustration. You learn, well, the first time is always harder, but then you can cope with it. And about switching to another method, it's a very interesting question. In this case, we have ELS in vitro. So now we use that method, which is more laborious, but well, we can use it. If you try a method like changing through 2-3 things and it still doesn't work, then it's a good idea to switch to another method. Which is the problem? That sometimes you either don't know any other method to measure what you want, or there is another method, but you don't have the material or the resources to carry it out. So it depends. It depends of the case. It's a very good question, actually, Nuria.
Well, you were saying that in vitro was very laborious, more laborious than in vivo, while normally it seems like the other way around, at least for other sciences, that going in vivo is always more costly and laborious than in vitro, that is preliminary testing. But it was funny about your story that it was the other way around.
Not in this case.
Because plants
I swear
are different than animals.
Yes, plants are different.
Yes. Hashtag plants are different.
Yeah.
Even a species of plants, right?
Yes.
Okay, so do we have any comments from the social media or any other comments from the audience?
Yes.
Perhaps? Sorry.
Well, we have some comments on YouTube. We have two persons that are talking. Diego, well, he's telling us a great and interesting contributions to all of us. And also Yosito is talking about this issue. And he says, if a well-obtained result is not aligned with your hypothesis, you should change the hypothesis and not hide the result. And also we have one comment that thinking that negative results are not important is a major mistake. Diego, thank you for your contribution. We think that you're right.
So far on Facebook, we don't have any comments, but
hey, everyone is in
I'm there
YouTube,
to
then.
find it. I think afterwards it would be a good trigger for the scientific wars to establish the platform where all these results can be reachable. Huh?
So actually, Salome had a great idea she shared with us. Do you want to say about
how we came up with the idea of having this? Yeah.
No, about what do you think that should be practiced more often? This CV of failure?
Yes. Actually, the idea, there's one professor in Princeton University who published his CV of failures, which became the viral. So it became like a motivation for people to really think before they achieve something bigger, they need to go through all those rejections of the university, the scholarships, fellowships. So we found the CV. I believe I can share my.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
We will to grasp the idea is that
we get the point. Yes.
There's a thing that it's quite motivational to also go back and think. So before
it's like a reverse CV. I mean, what you try to hide, but so probably it's a longer one than the good CV. Anyway, so
Nuria, I wanted to say something about when they talk about courses that we can do around our years during the studies. The thing is that perhaps we did the courses not at the moment correct. So when we started the studies, we have too many ideas, too many things, and we want to study a lot, we want to know a lot. So we put and did too much courses. But perhaps nowadays it's more necessary to do the statistics course or the how to write an article no 5 years ago, for example, or 4 years ago. So perhaps our supervisors could say when is the perfect
more
moment.
flexibility, yes. And perhaps also more tailored ways to the topic you research could also be. I don't know what is the exact offer because you're coming from different universities, but is it possible for you, for example, to do another course that is not inside the doctoral school and it's covered by your program? That is also an option?
No, not for us.
Joaquin says yes. I don't know.
Depends on the university and the school the school, but the law admits these kind of things.
Okay.
In some places it's done.
So that's also a back door, like to overcome this thing. But I totally agree that the right moment is very important. So talking about timing, we should go to the next video. Go, please.
My name is Jessica Guedes. I am a PhD student at the University of La Rioja. Well, the silly story I want to tell today is not related to a failed experiment at the lab, but it is about how I buy samples for my experiments. Every month, I have to buy a big amount of samples in many different retailers. The thing is, I have to ask for invoices in the name of the university with the tax identification number. So on my first time buying samples, I went to a supermarket together with my Spanish coworker, and she told me, I will go first since I am Spanish, and then you have to watch me and do the same. And I thought, okay, easy peasy. So I selected my samples, I paid for them, and I asked for the invoices. No problems until there. Then I had to tell this tax number to the cashier, and I just couldn't because I don't know how to pronounce the number 18 in Spanish. And that would be funny if that happened only once or twice. But I lived the same situation in almost all the retailers I visit during 6 months, wasting my time in lines and feeling embarrassed to repeat the same word again and again. Until 2 months ago when my coworker said, Jessica, I understand that you are not a Spanish speaker. So if you can say 18 in Spanish, why don't you just say 1 first and then the H? And I felt like I'm the most stupid person in the whole world. Moral of history, don't try to copy someone else just because they have more knowledge than you. It can make you get stuck in easy to solve problems if you just think a little bit.
Good morning, I'm Eva Benito Ruiz, a PhD student from the Health and Sports Science program at the University of Zaragoza. I work as a nurse for 15 years and currently I'm developing my care profession in the Miguel Vicente Hospital, and I'm also Associate Professor of the Nursing Faculty of the University of Zaragoza. About 6 years ago, a colleague from the hospital suggested me to start these doctoral studies because I really liked research and I was always involved in projects. This colleague lent himself to be my thesis supervisor, and I researched another one in the faculty because our program has it as a requirement, and I started working. We choose a topic where the nursing staff will develop their own activities, and we began to work. The first thing I did was a systematic review of the line of research that we were going to develop, and I managed to publish it without any of my directors correcting the work I have developed. I continued doing the field work. At the beginning we proposed 6 months, but finally we extended the time to 1 year. All these things thanks to another fellow medical specialist, not my director, but another who helped me a lot to be able to finish collecting the entire sample. About that period, another problem arises, which is the medical discharge of my thesis director from the faculty. I spent more than a year with him on leave. My head of the hospital was not helping me either, so I took the opportunity to find another thesis supervisor who was involved in my work and to overcome this failure that I have been dragging on for years. I continue with enthusiasm and eager to finish my thesis, and I get through another colleague from the faculty, also a doctoral student in her last year, a new motivation and pass. She gives me the guidelines to start with statistics and to write the GCR article that I need to be able to defend my thesis. 15 days ago, we managed to send the article to a magazine. It seems important to mention that in the end, with motivation, good self-management, help from the colleagues you meet along the way, I've managed to overcome the failures.
Very nice stories again, and
very beautiful. Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if they're really from the core of, especially the first one, from the core of research, but for problems we have in life.
Yeah, because I mean, especially the Iberus talent PhDs come all from the world, so there's very international community. Then I guess, what do you think, Jessica, when you come, well, in your case, probably for you it was easier to speak Spanish, but when you come from another country, when you come from abroad, learning, as Katerina was saying, learning from a different language and, I don't know, a scenario, can it be somewhat harder, do you think?
Not really. Actually, I think it depends of your previous experience and if the country where you are from and the country where you are studying, how much different they are. Because, for example, for me, I think it's easier to understand Spanish than a Japanese girl, for example. But of course, it's another reality, other customs, food, language. So if you are not a person who can, I don't know, to adapt to the situation, maybe you can have some problems. But of course, it's limited to the cultural environment, because if you are talking about the scientific environment of the lab, then you have different kind of failures that you can pass through, and it depends from your previous experience. If you are on the same field, if you are studying something that you already have some knowledge or not, it can depend.
Okay, good. Joaquin, do you want to comment something?
And Eva, if I heard well in your story, you had to change a supervisor along the way?
Yes,
this is a really important thing.
I was more than a year without my supervisor at the Department of the Health and Science program because he was ill. So I was alone. I asked 3 times to search another one, and the head of the department said, yes, it's okay, you can find another one, but it's your job. So try and search. And I was asking talk to all of my colleagues, hello, I'm Eva from the Department of Nursing, and would you like to be my supervisor? And most of them say, I'm sorry, I was full of job, I had 3, 4, 5 students, and finally, with a colleague of my subject of the faculty, she helped me because my new supervisor is a friend of her. So it's a colleague from the department, but it's a friend of her. So she asked for me to be my new supervisor.
As a favor, more or less.
Yes, as a favor. Yes.
All right.
Well, but the new supervisor helped you and take you out of the dead-end road and put you in the right track.
Yes, but I only be with him since 3 months. 3 months. So we are now make some meets, around 3 or 4 meets, and he revised the paper I wrote. And yes, the head of the hospital, my another supervisor, is out. He continues out. But well, nowadays I'm better.
This is an important point that no one now is hearing us. The relation with the supervisor. Miguel said that his was an angel. Your experience with supervisors not so good.
It's not so
but
good.
This is an interesting point because I think it's very important in the PhD, the relation with the supervisor. I don't know, the Jessica, for example, how's your feeling with that?
Oh, I have a good supervisor. Yeah, she helped me a lot. She helped me a lot. And she keeps helping me. It's complicated because advisor in the most of the time doesn't have the time to help you all the time. So we have to acquire some independence. So we are on like a middle term where we have to think by ourselves, but we don't have so many liberty to act, to decide everything alone. And the thing is, in this position, I think many failures can happen. And there are failures where you can identify the mistake very quickly. And there are others that no, you can't. And you have to develop critical thinking. And I think it's in that point where we learn so much.
Yeah, probably now Eva is a master in that, right? You can be leading yourself, the research. I mean, that's good. Perhaps in a day you can become a supervisor of others. Make it easier for them.
that to have a reference supervisor is essential to have a good organization, to manage at the beginning all the job in a whole organization, because I think that failure to me has lost too many time at the past. For me, this is my 5th year, a partial time, but this is my 5th year. And I think that around 2 years, I was alone trying to start the research, trying to write the first journal, to publish, trying to
do all by yourself. So we have someone from the audience who is willing to share a story. So should we listen?
Great.
Hola. Do you listen to me?
Yes, Anna.
Yes.
Hola, hola.
Please present yourself very briefly and tell us what is your failure about.
I'm Ana Mota. I'm a Portuguese agronomist and I'm doing my PhD under the Iberus talent program at the Public University of Navarra. Okay, so just a small comment, because it was a nice surprise to see Joaquin here. And I started my PhD in the very beginning, let's say, with a course that he gave, and he taught us that even Marie Curie failed. And I felt much more calm and peaceful looking at my own failures. But the story I'm bringing was on my first research work that I did after my master thesis. So I was doing a field experiment where I had to collect gas samples. So with a syringe, you take the gas from a box and you put into a little glass container that has a valve on top, and that's it, and you store them. Of course, as all of you that are listening and talking, equipments fail also. So our equipment broke, and I had more than 300 samples per day, and I needed to run them, and me and my other colleagues, all of us with all our gas to run. So my professor said that we need to store them and to organize ourselves, and it was okay to freeze them because in a year it will be okay. Of course, as a young researcher, I listened to the professor and okay, no worries. And when the time came, I ran all my samples and zero gas, nada. So almost 1 year of every day, sun, raining, collecting gas samples 3 times per day, and everything went to the garbage. So that was when I understood that no matter what we listen, what we read, or I don't know, we should not trust. We should do a small test, a small proof on our equipments and everything, and just, I don't know, try before you do your big real experiment, so you don't have these setbacks.
Very nice advice, Anna.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Sorry for you, Anna.
Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay. We learned from this, no?
Yeah, I know you will pass through it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Well, to hear
Bye.
from you.
Well, we also have comments in the chat. Participants really liking the event and saying that failure is the best teacher ever. And it's true.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, yes. So let's just perhaps learn how to deal with it. Not, of course, if you can avoid, but not always you have everything under your control. So, and are there any comments from the social media, perhaps?
No, on Facebook is still nothing. I think it's not that much active, but maybe afterward they will see. So Carmen?
So on YouTube, we just have people like saying, really interesting. Thank you very much, Elena. But no more comments.
All right. So I think the people of the audience has been a bit shy. I'm gonna check if there is anyone raising any hands, please, in the webinar. As I cannot see. Oh, we have here Rasmi. And hey, Rasmi, how are you? No? Oh.
Right.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm good.
You wanted to comment something, right?
Yes.
What would you like to say?
All the stories are really interesting.
Yes, thank you. Did you have something, do you feel yourself like you were in a situation similar or some kind of shame moment because of mistakes? How do you deal with this?
Actually, I had one recently. It was actually because of one of the instruments was not working properly. I had done like 20 samples of protein analysis, and 16 of the tubes broke. After 4 hours of digestion, I was digesting with sulfuric acid, and after 4 hours of digestion, 16 tubes broke. All my samples were lost, and I had to repeat all the experiments again. Thankfully, I had my samples and all the chemicals for doing more analysis, so everything went well. But that day, it was really frustrating. I had to clean all the sulfuric acid from the equipment and take out the glasses and due to I was digesting using vacuum, and so the glass got stuck to the equipment, and while taking it out, it burst out also. So it was kind of like a oh my god day.
Oh, actually, Rasmi is also from the Iberus Talent program and working at the Public University of Navarra. What do you do as in your research? Can you tell us? I mean, not only in your failing experiments, but like what is your PhD thesis about?
Yeah, I'm working at Public University of Navarra. I'm doing a work on development of new product in meat using technologies like high pressure processing and sous vide cooking. And the work is going well as of now. And my professor, she's like really good. She helps me a lot.
Oh, luckily. Supervisors are very important.
Yes,
we
I
have
agree
also,
with it.
We also had a comment here in the chat about that. Good supervisor is key. Yes, couldn't agree more. So actually, sometimes are like role models, so they become role model for you, as is your first experience you have with someone leading your research or helping you. So, we have a question from Facebook. No, sorry, YouTube. Go.
Yes, Juan Jose Iturregui is asking, well, trying to avoid the publication bias, how does one remain informed on the bad or negative data that gets produced that don't make it to the magazines?
That's a good point.
I think networking is essential. Talking to other researchers on your field that are studying or doing similar research is essential, because if you only read what they are doing, as I've said before, you think that they are some kind of gods or superheroes, that they do everything right, and then you get to meet them in real life, and and you know that they are normal human beings and that they are also making mistakes. So I think it's really important to keep in touch and get to know people who are researching similar things as you. And you can also do, as Joaquin has said, like it's a therapy group. Yeah, and
Congress and seminars is where you meet normally people that is working in your same field. And in the room, you have to tell the right thing. But after, with the coffee, then you share all the mistakes and the unpublished failures.
It's true.
Probably is the place.
And also we can motivate each other.
Yeah.
Yes, motivation is very important to keep high, because a lot of frustration moments where you wonder what are you doing, dedicating so much time and effort, and then the samples go in spoiled or broken, repeating experiments again. It's a hard life, but so you need to share it. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard, but here you are, all of you, happy and interested in keep on going. So it's a good thing to do.
I would like to say that PhD students somehow have this internal superpower to deal with all the problems, to be the psychologists for themselves, for the colleagues. So we should be proud of that.
Of course.
It's true. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you are heroes with special powers. Yes, actually, future is in your hands, no? Because science needs to be progressing, and every failure is a step to progress, as this was the title of this meeting. And well, it is about time. The event is nice. We could discuss 4 hours. It's very, very lively. But it needs to end, sadly. But first of all, I would like to thank you all for your participation. It was really funny, especially to meet you, although online, but it would be better face-to-face, cannot be at this point. I hope that sharing these types of stories around failure help you and others to keep motivating yourself to keep high in research. And before we leave, there will be a small question for you to vote the story you like the most, okay? So
that's gonna be hard.
Yes, it's indeed. Well, and Indeed, I would just say thank you all for participating through the chats, through the speakers, also the spontaneous participants of today that wanted to share and speak out for the audience. And well, if failure arises, remember, keep calm, keep trying, and never get down, all right? So thank you all, and we will conclude our event. Please vote, and see you around next time. Bye.
Thank you.